The kid was lining up forks like soldiers going to war. Elena Brooks balanced her tray of champagne flutes, baccarat crystal, the kind that cost more than her monthly rent, and watched the 8-year-old at table 12 arrange silverware with surgical precision. 1 fork, 2 forks, 3. Perfect spacing, mathematical order. Around him, the Plaza Hotel's grand ballroom glittered with Manhattan's finest. Women in Valentino gowns air-kissed men in Tom Ford suits. A state senator laughed too loud at a joke that wasn't funny. Hedge fund managers worked the room like they owned it, which, in this tax bracket, they probably did. The boy didn't look up, just kept building his fortress of silver. Elena's manager, Tony, appeared at her elbow. "Table 8 needs refills. Move." She moved. That's what you did when you worked plaza events. You became furniture. Expensive, efficient, invisible furniture. But her eyes kept drifting back to table 12. The name card beside the silverware fortress read Matteo De Luca in embossed lettering. Elena watched a city councilman approach the table, then veer away like he'd remembered an urgent phone call. A real estate developer glanced at the empty chair, checked his Rolex, kept walking. Everyone knew that name. Everyone knew what it meant. The boy, Adrian, his name tag said, wore a designer suit tailored to fit his small frame. Hair perfectly combed, hands moving in repetitive patterns Elena recognized from somewhere deep and painful in her memory. Her brother Daniel used to do that. Line up his Hot Wheels cars, count the tiles on their kitchen floor, find order when the world got too loud. Daniel died at 14 in a group home. Restraint incident, the report said. Elena learned 2 things that day. The system doesn't save kids like her brother, and sometimes the people paid to care don't actually see. On the dance floor, children spun with their parents. A blonde girl in a tulle dress twirled with her father. A boy in a bow tie counted his mother's pearls while they waltzed to Strauss. Adrian watched them. His hands went still on the silverware. Elena set down her tray. Tony caught her eye from across the room, shook his head hard. "Don't." She was already moving. The woman in the Chanel heels, Victoria Ashford Kent, the gala organizer, the name on the Special Needs Awareness Foundation banner hanging behind the stage, glided past table 12. Her eyes landed on Adrian for half a second. Her mouth tightened. She redirected a waiter carrying desserts. "Not that table yet. Give them space." Elena's jaw clenched. She knew that voice. That's how they sounded at Daniel's group home when they said managing expectations. She knelt beside table 12, eye level with the silverware fortress. Didn't touch anything. Didn't invade his carefully constructed world. "Hey," she said softly, her Bronx accent smoothing the edges. "You count stuff too?" Adrian's eyes stayed on the forks, but his fingers paused. "My brother used to line things up," Elena continued. "Made sense to him when everything else was chaos." She nodded toward the dance floor. "Want to count something with me? The waltz steps? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Easy math." 5 seconds of silence. Then Adrian's hand, small, uncertain, reached toward hers. Elena stood slowly. He stood with her. His grip was light, careful, like he was holding something that might break. She led him to the edge of the dance floor. Not the center. Safe distance from the noise. 1, 2, 3. She counted out loud, swaying gently. 1, 2, 3. Adrian's lips moved. Silent at first, then barely audible. 1, 2, 3. They weren't really dancing, just moving to the pattern, just counting together. And then, small, fragile, real, Adrian smiled. Across the ballroom, a man in a charcoal Brioni suit went completely still. Matteo De Luca had been mid-conversation with a city councilman, the kind of conversation where money moved without being mentioned. Now his eyes locked on his son, on the first genuine smile he'd seen in 3 years. Security flanking the bar tensed, hands drifting toward concealed carry, reading their boss's sudden focus as threat assessment. But Matteo didn't move. Just watched the woman in the black service vest teach his son to dance. Victoria appeared at his elbow, champagne in hand, smile tighter than her facelift. "Mister," DeLuca, I apologize for the disruption. I'll have the staff member removed. Leave her. His voice was quiet, the kind of quiet that made people check their exits. She stays. On the dance floor, Elena didn't see the shift in power, didn't see Victoria's knuckles go white on the champagne stem, didn't see Mateo's world tilt on its axis. She just saw a kid who stopped counting long enough to smile. In this world where one moment can rewrite everything, where these events are inspired by the unexpected connections that change lives, every name and face here belongs to the narrative imagination. But the truth underneath? That's real. The waltz ended. Adrian looked up at Elena for the first time. Again? He whispered. Yeah, buddy, she said. Again. Matteo DeLuca didn't forget faces, especially not the face of someone who reached his son when the entire room looked away. 3 days after the gala, Elena stood in the plaza's service corridor, phone pressed to her ear while Lucy chattered over the YMCA daycare's background noise. Mommy, I made a castle with the big blocks. That's amazing, baby. Listen, Mommy's gotta work late tonight, okay? Miss Rose is gonna… Brooks. Tony appeared in the corridor, clipboard in hand. His face had that careful, apologetic shape that meant someone was about to get screwed. Elena ended the call. Her stomach dropped before he even opened his mouth. Tony wouldn't meet her eyes. Victoria Ashford Kent filed a formal complaint, said you overstepped professional boundaries at Saturday's event, made guests uncomfortable. I shared a 2-minute dance with a kid. You engaged with a specific guest child without authorization. He was using his HR voice now, the corporate monotone that turned people into liability. Victoria's the client. The foundation pays for 12 events a year. I can't… He exhaled hard. You're off the gala rotation. Permanently. Elena's rent was $1,850 for a 1-bedroom in the Bronx. Gala shifts paid triple time plus tips that sometimes hit $300 a night. She just lost 1/3 of her income. Tony, I need those shifts. Lucy's daycare is $200 a week. I'm sorry. It's done. He walked away before she could argue, before she could beg. Elena leaned against the corridor wall, cold industrial tile, the kind that never really got clean, and did the math in her head. Rent due in 9 days. Daycare already 2 weeks late. Con Ed threatening shutoff. Her phone buzzed. Text from her cousin Marisol. Can you cover Lucy this weekend? I got a double at the hospital. Elena texted back. Yeah, she couldn't afford it. She'd do it anyway. Victoria's office, Upper East Side. Same afternoon. Victoria Ashford Kent sat behind her glass desk on the 14th floor of a 5th Avenue building where doormen wore white gloves. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed Central Park like a painting she owned. Her assistant, Jennifer, Barnard grad, unpaid intern, desperate to make connections, spread gala photos across the desk for the annual report. This one's lovely, Jennifer said, holding up a shot of Victoria presenting the ceremonial check, all teeth and tailored compassion. Very on brand? Victoria's eyes landed on a photo in the proof stack. Elena and Adrian on the dance floor. The boy was smiling. She went still. Delete that one. Jennifer hesitated. But it's actually really moving. It shows the mission in action. Our donors don't pay to see the help-playing hero. Victoria's voice dropped to the register that had built her career. Sugar over steel. They pay to feel good about themselves. That photo makes them feel judged for not doing what some waitress did. She slid the proof aside like discarded evidence. Delete it. And make sure that woman never works another high-end event in this city. Mrs. Ashford Kent, isn't that a bit… I run a 7-figure operation on the principle of appropriate boundaries. Victoria stood, adjusting her Hermes scarf. People like her don't understand that charity has structure, hierarchy. When they cross lines, they jeopardize the entire ecosystem. Her smile could cut glass. I'm protecting the mission. She should thank me for the lesson in knowing her place. Jennifer opened her mouth, closed it, deleted the photo. Good, Victoria said. Now call the Plaza, the Metropolitan Club, and the Frick. Make sure Elena Brooks is flagged in their staffing systems. Professional liability. What should I put as the reason? Boundary violations with a minor. That should do it. Elena's apartment, Fordham Heights, the Bronx. Elena sat at her kitchen table. IKEA particle board from 2015, one leg shorter than the others, wobbling on folded cardboard, staring at her bank account on a cracked iPhone screen. Current balance, $347. 52. Rent, $1,850. Daycare, $400 overdue. MetroCard, empty. Fridge, 3 eggs, half a loaf of bread, Lucy's applesauce pouches. In the next room, Lucy slept with her stuffed bunny, completely unaware her mother was doing crisis math at midnight. Elena's phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Then, "Hello? Miss Brooks." The voice was male, measured, Brooklyn flat. "My name is Marcus Webb. I work for Matteo DeLuca. Mr. DeLuca would like to meet with you tomorrow, 10 a.m. A car will pick you up." Elena's pulse spiked. "I didn't do anything wrong." "No one said you did." A pause. "He wants to thank you." "For what?" "You'll discuss that with him." Professional. Final. "The car will be outside your building at 9:45. Black Mercedes. Don't be late." The line went dead. Elena stared at her phone, at the unknown number already disappearing from her screen, and felt the ground shift under her feet. Matteo DeLuca didn't send cars to thank people. He sent them to deliver messages. The black Mercedes idled outside Elena's building at 9:43 a.m. In Fordham Heights, cars like that meant either a funeral or the kind of trouble that ended with yellow tape. Mrs. Rodriguez from 2B stared from her window. Big Mike, who ran numbers out of the corner bodega, watched from his stoop. Elena climbed into the back seat, feeling every set of eyes on her. Marcus Webb sat up front. 50s, gray suit, face like it had been carved from something that didn't bend. He didn't introduce himself again, just pulled into traffic. They drove in silence. Down the Major Deegan, across the George Washington Bridge into New Jersey, where the trees got expensive and the houses disappeared behind walls. 35 minutes later, the Mercedes passed through iron gates into Alpine. The DeLuca estate sprawled across grounds that looked like they required a full-time staff just for the landscaping. Security cameras nested in rose bushes. Men in polo shirts and khakis, definitely not gardeners, patrolled the perimeter with the kind of posture that said military training and concealed carry. Marcus led her through a side entrance, not the front. The message was clear. You're not a guest. You're business. Inside, the house was museum quiet. Marble floors, art that belonged in the Met, the kind of silence that came from rooms nobody actually lived in. Then, laughter. A child's laughter, bright and unguarded. Marcus opened a door to a sunroom flooded with natural light. Adrian sat on the floor surrounded by wooden blocks, building a tower with architectural precision. Lucy sat across from him, handing him pieces, chattering non-stop about her castle at daycare. Both kids looked up. "Mommy!" Lucy launched herself at Elena's legs. Elena's brain short-circuited. Her hands went to Lucy's shoulders, checking for injuries, for fear, for anything wrong. What are you? Miss Rosa was happy to bring her. Matteo DeLuca stepped into the sunroom from a connecting office. Up close, without this ballroom crowd, he was younger than she'd expected. Maybe 40. Armani suit worn like armor. Eyes that calculated angles before most people finished blinking. I thought Adrian might enjoy company his own age. Turns out I was right. Elena pulled Lucy closer, every instinct firing. "You sent someone to my daughter's daycare without asking me?" "I sent someone to pay your daughter's overdue bill and arrange safe transport." His voice stayed level, factual. "Marcus brought cookies. Lucy talked about unicorns the entire drive. She's fine." It should have sounded threatening. Instead, it sounded like a man who understood logistics and single-parent panic in equal measure. Adrian stacked another block, precise, deliberate. Then, without looking at Elena, 1, 2, 3. Elena's throat tightened. He remembered. Matteo watched his son with an expression Elena recognized from her own mirror. love wrapped in helplessness, the specific grief of wanting to fix something you don't know how to reach. He hasn't smiled like that since… Matteo stopped himself. In a long time. You did something Saturday night that every therapist, every specialist, every expert I've hired couldn't do. You saw him. I saw a kid who needed a dance partner. Everyone else saw a problem to avoid. Matteo crossed to the window, hands in pockets. I want to hire you, not as staff, as Adrian's companion, someone who engages with him naturally, helps him navigate the world without treating him like a diagnosis. Elena's pulse hammered. I'm not a therapist. I have therapists. They use clinical language and give him strategies that work on paper. He turned back. You knelt down and asked if he wanted to count. That's what he needs. What's the pay? $80,000 a year. Health insurance. Housing stipend if you want to relocate closer. Elena made $23,000 working 3 jobs. This was life-changing money. It was also blood money. I know what people say about you, Elena said carefully. I'm not stupid. Good. Stupid people don't last long around me. Matteo's expression didn't change. I won't lie to you about what I am, but I will never lie to you about my son. He needs help. You can provide it. That's the only transaction here. Adrian held up a block to Lucy. Blue? Super blue. Lucy grinned, completely fearless. Adrian smiled. Small, tentative, real. Elena looked at her daughter, at this boy who just wanted someone to see past his walls, at the man offering her a way out of poverty wrapped in a Faustian bargain. I want Sundays off, she said, and Lucy comes with me when I need her to. Non-negotiable. Matteo extended his hand. Deal. When they shook, Elena felt the weight of the choice settle in her bones. She just made a deal with a man the FBI probably had 6 files on, but she also just gave her daughter a future. And maybe, she could help a kid who deserved better than being invisible. Week 3 at the DeLuca estate, Elena learned the house rules fast. Don't ask where Matteo goes when his phone rings with that specific tone. 2 short buzzes, never a ringtone. Don't comment on the men who show up at odd hours smelling like diesel and the Hudson River. Don't open doors that stay closed. But in Adrian's wing, 3rd floor, east side, overlooking the garden, those rules didn't apply. Adrian's routine was a mathematical 7:15 a.m. breakfast. Oatmeal, cut fruit in even pieces, Tropicana orange juice in the blue glass, never the clear one. 8 a.m., occupational therapy with Dr. Chen via Zoom. 10 a.m., academic tutoring. 1 p.m., sensory break with noise-canceling Bose headphones and a 20-pound weighted blanket. Elena disrupted exactly nothing. She just existed nearby. She sat on the floor during his Lego time, the architecture series, White House and Capitol building sets, building her own tower without commenting when he rebuilt hers the correct way. She learned his patterns. 3 taps on door frames before entering rooms, the specific hum he made when overwhelmed, how he avoided anything yellow. The music box sat on his nightstand. Silver, delicate, a ballerina frozen mid-pirouette. The first time Elena noticed it, Adrian was winding it with ritualistic precision. Click, 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 click. 7 times. Never 6, never 8. The melody played. Strauss, the same waltz from the plaza. That's pretty, Elena said softly. Where'd you get it? Adrian's hands went still. His voice came out barely audible. Mama's. Elena's chest tightened. Matteo mentioned his wife died, but never said how, never said when. She had good taste, Elena offered. Adrian wound it again. 7 precise clicks. She fell down. The man with the scar was loud. I counted. 47 sounds. Then she stopped moving. The temperature in the room dropped 20 degrees. Elena kept her voice steady, gentle. Adrian, honey, how old were you when that happened? 5. And 4 months. And 6 days. Jesus Christ. He witnessed it. That night, after Adrian was asleep, Elena found Matteo in his study nursing Macallan 25 that cost more than her old monthly rent. He saw it, she said without preamble. The night your wife died. He saw it happen. Matteo's hand froze on the glass. The therapist said he was in his room, upstairs, safe. He was in his room, counting. He heard 47 sounds before she stopped moving. Elena's voice cracked. He counts because that's how he measured the last minutes of his mother's life. The glass hit the desk hard enough to crack the base. Matteo stood, paced to the window, every muscle locked tight. I thought I protected him. His voice came out raw. I thought keeping him upstairs, away from what I do, I thought that was enough. It's not about where he was, it's about what he carries. Elena stepped closer, but not too close. The music box. He whines it 7 times every night. That's not autism. That's trauma trying to create order in chaos. Matteo's reflection in the window showed a man being gutted from the inside out. Can you help him? I'm not a therapist. Can you help him? Elena thought about Daniel, how the group home staff saw behaviors, not a scared kid trying to communicate, how they restrained him instead of listening, how he died alone because no one bothered to see. Yeah, she said, but not by making him stop counting, by showing him he doesn't have to do it alone. 2 weeks later, breakthrough. The thunderstorm hit at 3 p.m., one of those late spring systems that turned the sky black and made the windows rattle in their frames. Adrian was under his bed before the first crack of thunder, hands over his ears, rocking. Elena didn't drag him out, didn't use therapist voice or offer clinical strategies. She just grabbed her iPhone and crawled under the bed with him, in her old navy jeans and Fordham hoodie, on carpet that probably cost $5,000. Want to see something cool? She opened the weather app. Each lightning flash has a number. See? Flash to thunder. We can count the miles between us and the storm. Adrian's rocking slowed, his hands lowered slightly. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. Elena counted out loud. Thunder cracked. 3 seconds. That means it's about half a mile away. Want to try the next one? Adrian's hands came down completely. Count the pattern? Exactly. Make the scary stuff into math. They counted for 20 minutes. Flash, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. Thunder. Calculate distance. Adrian's breathing evened out. His body stopped shaking. Lucy found them at 3:30, both under Adrian's bed, tracking lightning strikes like meteorologists. Are we hiding? Lucy asked, already crawling under. We're counting, Adrian said. Lucy grinned, fearless and chaotic. I'm great at counting. 1, 2, 5, elephant. Adrian looked at her like she'd just broken physics. That's not the order. It's my order, Lucy announced. For the first time since Elena started working there, Adrian laughed. Not a smile, an actual laugh. Matteo found all 3 of them under the bed an hour later when the storm passed. Lucy was teaching Adrian her version of counting. Adrian was trying to explain actual mathematics. Elena was refereeing. He stood in the doorway. This man who ran docks and construction contracts and things the FBI spent careers investigating, and stared at the scene under his son's bed. He didn't see a staff member managing his child. He saw a family. Month 2, domestic transformation. The DeLuca house was different now. Lucy's drawings covered Adrian's playroom walls, crayon masterpieces of castles and dragons, and Mommy and Adrian counting. The kitchen, once the domain of a private chef who prepared meals Adrian barely touched, now smelled like Elena's adobo on Sunday afternoons. Sofrito simmering in the Le Creuset pot Matteo probably bought and never used. Adrian ate 3 full plates last Sunday. Matteo noticed. He came home earlier now. Not every night. His business didn't operate on family schedules, and Elena learned not to ask about the calls that came at 2 a.m. But when he did arrive, he didn't go straight to his study anymore. He removed his gun first. A Glock 19 compact carry, locked it in the biometric safe in his office. Then he went to Adrian's room. Tonight he found all four of them, Elena, Adrian, Lucy, and Marcus, who claimed he was checking security protocols, but really wanted to see what the kids were building, constructing a Lego replica of the Brooklyn Bridge. "Mommy says it's span dreamy," Lucy announced, butchering the word completely. "Suspension bridge," Adrian corrected gently. Not mean, just factual. He'd learned from Lucy that corrections didn't have to feel like attacks. Elena looked up, caught Mateo's expression. Something soft, something cracked open. "You're home early." "Meeting got canceled." He loosened his Hermione tie, sat on the floor. Actually sat on the floor in his $4,000 suit. "How can I help?" Adrian handed him a brick without hesitation. "Blue pieces go on the support cables. Even numbers only." Mateo took the brick like it was sacred. They built in comfortable silence, Lucy narrating the entire engineering process, until Adrian asked the question that changed everything. "Papa, why do people look scared when you talk to them?" The room went still. Mateo's hands paused on the Lego tower. Elena's eyes cut to him, a warning, a question, a silent plea for honesty. "Because I made mistakes," Mateo said carefully. "Before you were born, I did things that hurt people, and now, people remember." "Do you still do bad things?" Christ, the kid didn't know how to dance around truth. "Sometimes," Mateo admitted. "I'm trying to do less, but it's complicated." Adrian considered this with his usual mathematical precision. "Miss Elena says people can change if they practice, like me with loud noises." "Miss Elena is very smart." "Are you practicing?" Mateo looked at his son, this boy who counted to survive, who measured the world in patterns because chaos took his mother, who just asked the question Mateo's priest and lawyer and therapist all avoided. "Yeah, buddy," he said quietly. "I'm practicing." Midnight, Mateo's study. Elena found him staring at documents spread across mahogany, financial records, corporate filings, shell companies with names like Northern Star Development and Hudson Valley Holdings. "Can't sleep?" she asked from the doorway. "Adrian asked me if I still do bad things." Mateo didn't look up. "What the hell am I supposed to say to that?" Elena entered, sat across from him. "You said the truth. That's more than most fathers manage." "The truth is, I run an empire built on violence." He gestured at the paperwork. "Legitimate businesses on top, dirty money underneath. Every board meeting, every construction contract, it's all funded by things I can't tell my son about." "So change it. You don't just walk away from what I've built." "Why not?" "Because the men I've done business with don't accept resignations. Because the feds have been building a RICO case for 15 years. Because—" He stopped, rubbed his face. "Because I don't know who I am without the power." Elena leaned forward. "You're a father who builds Lego bridges on the floor. That's who you are." Before Mateo could respond, his phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen and his entire body language shifted, muscles tensing, jaw setting, warmth draining from his eyes like someone pulled a plug. "I have to take this," he answered, voice cold. "Torino, it's late." Elena watched the transformation. The man who sat on the floor with his son disappeared. The operator returned. "You're making noise about restructuring dock operations," the voice said, loud enough for Elena to hear through the phone. Gravelly, Brooklyn Italian. "That's problematic." "I'm consolidating assets, not your concern." "Everything you do is my concern, especially when you're getting domestic." A pause loaded with threat. "Heard you hired help. Pretty thing from the Bronx. Got a daughter too, right?" Mateo's knuckles went white on the phone. "Leave them out of this. Kids are precious, Mateo. Real precious. Be a shame if something happened because their father forgot whose playground he's in." The line went dead. Mateo stood slowly, crossed to the window. His reflection showed murder in his eyes. "Who was that?" Elena asked, already knowing. "A problem I should have solved 3 years ago. He just threatened Adrian.
He threatened all of you.
Matteo turned. This is what I meant. You don't walk away. You either stay in or you burn it all down. Elena's phone buzzed. Unknown number. A photo. Lucy at daycare pickup that afternoon. Miss Rose's hand on her shoulder, completely unaware of the telephoto lens capturing them from across the street. The message? Nice kid. Would hate to lose track of her. Elena's blood turned to ice. They followed my daughter. Matteo crossed the room in 3 strides, took the phone, studied the image with professional assessment. Marcus will have a security team on her by morning. 24-hour detail. I don't want my 6-year-old to need armed guards.
Then you shouldn't have taken a job with me.
It came out harsher than intended. He softened immediately. Elena, I'm sorry. This is my life. I thought I could keep it separate. I was wrong. Elena stood, shaking with rage and fear. Fix it! Whatever you have to do, whoever you have to pay or bury, fix it. It's not that simple.
Then make it simple,
her voice cracked. Because I didn't sign up to watch my daughter end up like your wife. The words landed like rounds from his own gun. Matteo went pale. Then, you're right. What? You're right. I've been trying to protect Adrian from my world while keeping one foot in it. That doesn't work. He moved to his desk, unlocked a drawer, pulled out a business card. FBI. Special Agent Rivera. I have one way out. Witness protection. Full testimony against Torino's entire operation. It means admitting to my own crimes, losing everything I've built. Prison time, maybe 5 years with cooperation, maybe more. What about Adrian? He'd go into the system temporarily, foster care, then reunification when I get out. Absolutely not. Elena's voice turned to steel. He's not going into foster care. I've seen what that system does to kids like him. Then what do you suggest? You burn it all down, testify, do your time. I keep Adrian, legal guardianship. You come out, you get your son back, and you're actually the father he deserves. Matteo stared at this woman from the Bronx who just volunteered to raise a mobster's autistic son while said mobster served federal time. Why would you do that? Because someone should have done it for my brother. Elena's eyes were wet, but her voice stayed steady. And because that kid upstairs deserves better than the system, so do it. Call the FBI. Choose Adrian over everything else. And in this world where karma is the only law, and while these events are inspired by the brutal choices real people face when everything's on the line, every name and face here belongs to the narrative imagination. Matteo looked at the FBI card in his hand. For the first time in 20 years, he was genuinely afraid. Not of Torino, not of prison, of failing the people who actually saw him as human. The Plaza Hotel, Special Needs Foundation, quarterly luncheon. Victoria Ashford Kent stood at the podium, backlit by the foundation logo, addressing 200 donors in Chanel suits and Hermes ties. Cameras rolling for the foundation's Instagram. She was in her element, controlled, polished, performing virtue. Before we discuss Q3 initiatives, I must address a troubling matter that impacts our mission's integrity. The room quieted. Silverware stopped clinking against china. Victoria clicked to the next slide. Elena, walking out of the DeLuca estate gates, Lucy's hand in hers. Then another. Elena in the black Mercedes. Another, her entering the Alpine property with Marcus. 3 months ago, a member of our event staff acted inappropriately toward a guest's child. Victoria's voice dripped manufactured concern. When I addressed this boundary violation, she was removed from Plaza staffing. However, I've now learned she leveraged that interaction to secure employment with the family in question. Another slide. Matteo DeLuca's photo from a New York Post article. FBI targets alleged organized crime figure. The room recognized him instantly. Murmurs rippled through the audience. Mr. DeLuca is currently under federal investigation for racketeering and extortion. And this individual, she gestured to Elena's photo, is now residing in his home with her own young daughter. exposed to what the FBI considers an active criminal enterprise. The murmurs turned to gasps, then whispers, then the sound of 200 people mentally composing tweets. "I've contacted Child Protective Services," Victoria continued, voice heavy with false regret. "Because while we champion special needs advocacy, we cannot condone using vulnerable children as stepping stones to, let's be frank, predatory situations." She paused for effect. "We must protect all children, even from those who claim to help them." Elena's apartment, 4 hours later. Elena's phone detonated. Text from her cousin Marisol. "You're all over Twitter." Text from Tony at the plaza. "Don't contact me again." Text from Miss Rosa at daycare. "We need to talk, now." She opened Twitter. The Foundation's clip had 47,000 views and climbing. Hashtag Nannygate was trending in New York. The comments stacked up like trash. She spotted an opportunity and grabbed it. Weaponizing an autistic child to manipulate a mobster? That's disgusting. CPS better remove her daughter immediately. "This is why you don't let the help near your kids." Elena's hands shook so hard she nearly dropped the phone. It rang. Marcus. "Don't come to the house today," he said, voice tight. "Mr. DeLuca's lawyers are handling it, but until the CPS investigation clears, you need to stay away." "They're investigating me?" "Standard procedure when allegations involve a minor in a questionable environment." He paused. "Miss Brooks, get a lawyer. A good one." The line went dead. Elena sat on her kitchen floor, the same wobbly IKEA table overhead where she'd done crisis math 100 times and felt the world collapse. ACS office, 2 days later. Patricia Chen sat across from Elena in a windowless room that smelled like institutional bleach and broken families. The social worker was maybe 50, tired eyes, wedding ring worn thin. "Miss Brooks, we need to understand your relationship with Matteo DeLuca. I'm Adrian's companion. I help him with social engagement. You're untrained, unlicensed, and living in a home connected to organized crime." Patricia wasn't unkind, just factual. "That's not a safe environment for your daughter. Lucy's never been to the estate unsupervised. I kept them separate." Patricia slid over a photo. Lucy and Adrian under the bed during the thunderstorm, counting lightning together. Someone leaked it. Probably household staff Victoria paid off. "This was taken at Mr. DeLuca's residence. Your daughter, his son, together." Elena's chest caved in. They were counting. He was scared. She was helping him feel safe. "Miss Brooks, I don't doubt your intentions." Patricia closed the file. "But intentions don't override safety protocols. Until the federal investigation concludes and we can verify the household environment, we're recommending supervised visitation only. Your daughter will stay with your cousin under ACS monitoring." The room tilted. "You're taking Lucy from me?" "Temporarily, to ensure her safety." "I kept her safe. I always kept her safe." "You brought her into the home of a man under FBI investigation for murder, extortion, and racketeering." Patricia's expression didn't change. "That's not safe, Miss Brooks, no matter your relationship with his son." "He's a father trying to protect his kid. That's all he is." "That's not all he is. And until you understand that, Lucy stays with family." Outside a CS building, Fordham Road. Elena stood on the sidewalk, Bronx traffic screaming past, when her phone buzzed. Victoria Ashford Kent calling. She answered. "Miss Brooks." Victoria's voice was silk over razors. "I imagine today's been difficult. You did this." "I protected children. Yours and Adrian DeLuca's. You crossed lines. You faced consequences. That's how civilized society functions. You embezzle from your own foundation and lecture me about consequences?" A pause. Then Victoria laughed. Light, dismissive, the sound of someone who knew they'd already won. "Careful, dear. Accusations without evidence are called slander, and you're already on very thin ice. I'll prove it. With what resources? You're unemployed under CPS investigation and separated from your child. I have lawyers, donors, and a PR team. Victoria's voice dropped. You have desperation and a cracked iPhone. Stay away from the DeLuca family. Stay away from my foundation. Disappear back to the Bronx where you belong. Or the next call I make ensures Lucy never comes home. The line went dead. Elena stood on Fordham Road, surrounded by people who didn't see her, and understood exactly how completely she'd lost. Across town, a guest from the original Plaza Gala uploaded a video to YouTube. The title? The Moment That Changed Everything. Watch what really happened. It showed Elena kneeling beside Adrian, asking him to dance. His smile. It had 3,000 views when Victoria's phone started ringing. By morning, it would have 3 million. The video hit 3 million views by 6 a.m. Elena woke up on Marisol's couch, her cousin's apartment in Kingsbridge, 12 blocks from her own place, but a world away from Lucy's bedroom, to her phone vibrating off the coffee table. 63 missed calls, 214 texts. The first one she opened was from Marcus. Check Twitter. Now. She opened the app and her breath stopped. Hashtag Find the Waitress was trending #1 in the United States. The video, shot from a guest's iPhone at the Plaza Gala, showed everything Victoria's edited version had left out. Elena kneeling beside Adrian. His isolation. His careful hands on the silverware. Her gentle question. Want to count the steps with me? His smile. The caption read, while a $2 million charity gala ignored an autistic child, one waitress saw him. This is what compassion looks like. 3.2 million views, 48,000 retweets. The comments weren't hate anymore. I'm autistic. I've been that kid. This made me cry. Y'all are mad at her? She's the only one who treated him like a person. Someone find this woman and give her a medal. Victoria Ashford Kent should be ashamed. Elena's phone rang. Unknown number. She answered on instinct. Miss Brooks, this is Zara Mitchell from the New York Times. We'd love to talk to you about... Elena hung up. The phone rang again immediately. CNN. She declined. ABC News. NBC New York. Good morning, America. Her phone didn't stop ringing for the next hour. Victoria's office. 8:47 a.m. Victoria Ashford Kent stood behind her glass desk watching her career implode in real time. Her assistant Jennifer hovered in the doorway, iPad trembling in her hands. Mrs. Ashford Kent. The foundation's Instagram is, people are demanding refunds. The comments, I can read. Victoria's voice was ice. On her laptop screen, the foundation's carefully curated feed was drowning in fury. You ignored a child at your own gala, then attacked the woman who helped him? How much of our donations actually go to special needs families? IRS needs to audit this fraud operation. Victoria's phone rang. The board chair. Victoria, we need to discuss the video. It's being taken out of context. 3 donors just pulled their pledges. That's $400,000. The Times is requesting our financial records. And someone leaked internal emails about blacklisting that waitress. Victoria's blood went cold. Who leaked them? Does it matter? We're holding an emergency board meeting this afternoon. You should prepare a statement. The line went dead. Victoria looked at Jennifer, who was staring at her phone with an expression close to horror. What now? Someone posted your tax filings from 2023. You declared a salary of $375,000. Jennifer's voice shook. The foundation's mission statement says 90% of donations go directly to families, but the filing shows only 42%. That's standard operating cost. There's a thread going viral. A forensic accountant broke down where the money actually goes. Mrs. Ashford Kent, they're saying you embezzled $2.1 million over 5 years. The office walls closed in. Federal Plaza, FBI field office. Matteo DeLuca sat across from Special Agent Rivera in an interview room. That smelled like bad coffee and broken deals. Rivera slid a document across the table. immunity agreement, witness protection eligibility, the whole package. Full testimony against Sal Torino's operation. Every name, every transaction, every body. Rivera leaned back. You do that. We can offer 5 years minimum security with early release possibility. Your son goes to a vetted guardian. Miss Brooks already cleared preliminary background. What about Torino's people? Witness protection extends to immediate family and designated guardians. New identities, relocation, the works. Rivera paused. But you need to give us everything. And I mean everything, including your own operations. Mateo looked at the paper. His entire empire, reduced to testimony. He thought about Adrian under the bed, counting lightning with Lucy, about Elena standing in his study, demanding he choose his son over power, about the music box his son wound 7 times every night to measure the chaos that took his mother. He signed. When do we start? Now. Rivera opened a laptop. Let's talk about the dock operations first. Marisol's apartment, afternoon. Elena was drowning in interview requests when someone knocked. Marcus stood in the hallway holding a manila envelope. Mr. DeLuca wanted you to have this. He handed it over. He testified this morning. Full cooperation. Torino's organization is done. FBI's moving on the whole network. Elena opened the envelope. Legal guardianship papers for Adrian, already signed by Mateo and his attorney. A letter in his handwriting. Elena, you were right. I chose Adrian. The FBI says 5 to 7 years with cooperation. Adrian will need you. I trust you with the only thing that matters. Also, my lawyers are handling Victoria. Turns out her foundation's been under IRS investigation for 8 months. They were waiting for the right moment to move. You gave them that moment. Thank you for seeing my son when no one else would. Miss Elena looked up at Marcus. He really did it? Signed his life away this morning. Torino's getting arrested as we speak. Mr. DeLuca goes into custody next week pending trial. And Adrian? Yours, legally, Mr. DeLuca made sure of it. Marcus's expression softened slightly. He also made sure you're protected. New apartment, security detail, legal team. He can't be there, but he's making sure you can be. Elena's phone buzzed. A CS, Patricia Chen. She answered. Miss Brooks, given the new information, and Mr. DeLuca's cooperation with federal authorities, we're reversing our previous recommendation. You can pick up Lucy today, 4 p.m. Elena's knees went weak. Today? Today. And Miss Brooks, for what it's worth, I'm sorry. The video, you did the right thing. The line clicked. Marcus was already moving toward the door. I'll have a car ready at 3:30. Elena sat on Marisol's couch, guardianship papers in her hands, and realized something. She hadn't won because she had power. She'd won because she'd been willing to kneel down when everyone else walked past. Elena picked up Lucy at 4:03 p.m. from ACS offices on Lafayette Street. Her daughter ran into her arms like a missile, 6 years old and fearless. Mommy! I stayed with Tia Marisol, and she let me have ice cream for breakfast. Elena held her so tight she could feel Lucy's heartbeat against her chest. I missed you, baby. I wasn't scared. Tia said you were fighting for me. I am. Always. Lucy pulled back, suddenly serious. Is Adrian okay? He doesn't like when things change. Elena's throat closed. Her 6-year-old's first thought after being separated from her mother was whether her friend was safe. We're gonna see him soon, okay? Okay. Lucy grabbed her hand. Can we bring him his favorite, the blue Legos? Yeah, Mommy. We can bring him the blue Legos. CNN. Live broadcast. 6 p.m. The anchor's face filled screens across New York. Breaking news in what's being called Nannygate. The IRS has filed charges against Victoria Ashford Kent and the Special Needs Awareness Foundation for wire fraud and embezzlement. According to court documents unsealed this afternoon, Ashford Kent diverted over $2 million in charitable donations to personal expenses, including a vacation home in the Hamptons, private school tuition for her daughter, and luxury travel. Cut to footage of Victoria leaving her Fifth Avenue office, surrounded by reporter Mrs. Ashford Kent. Did you use charity money to fund your lifestyle? Do you have any comment for the families you claim to help? What about the waitress you tried to destroy? Victoria's face was stone. Her lawyer pushed through the crowd. No comment. My client maintains her innocence. But her hands shook on her Birkin bag. The camera caught it. DeLuca Estate, evening. Elena stood in Adrian's doorway, watching him wind the music box. Click, 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 click. 7 times. The Strauss waltz played. Adrian, honey, we need to talk about your dad. He didn't look up from the ballerina. He's going away. Like Mama did. Elena's heart cracked. Not like Mama. He's going to a place where he'll be safe. And he's coming back. When? Few years? I know that's hard to understand. 5 to 7 years with good behavior. Adrian's voice was factual, mathematical. I heard Marcus tell the other guards. That's 1,825 days minimum. 2,555 days maximum. Jesus, he'd already done the math. Elena sat on the floor beside his bed. Yeah, that's right, but he's doing it to keep you safe, to keep all of us safe. Because of the bad things he did. Because he chose you over everything else. Adrian finally looked at her. His eyes, dark like Mateo's, but clearer, younger, full of questions instead of answers. Will you stay? Yeah, buddy, I'll stay. And Lucy? Lucy too. Okay. He wound the music box again. 7 clicks. Miss Elena? Yeah? I don't want to count anymore. At night, when it's quiet, I want to just stop. Elena understood what he was really asking. Permission to let go. Permission to stop measuring chaos and start living in it. Then stop, she said gently. You don't have to count unless you want to. But what if I forget? What if I forget how many? His voice broke. What if I forget Mama? You won't forget her. The music box will help you remember. But Adrian, your Mama wouldn't want you to spend your whole life counting the days she left. She'd want you to live. He was quiet for a long time. Then he wound the box one more time. 6 clicks, not 7, 6. The music played, and Adrian didn't correct himself. Special Needs Awareness Foundation. Emergency board meeting. Victoria Ashford Kent sat at the head of the conference table for the last time. 8 board members stared at her like she'd tracked dog shit across their Persian rug. Richard Chen, the board chair, didn't waste time with pleasantries. The IRS seized our accounts this morning. We have $17,000 left in operating funds. Our donors are demanding refunds. 3 major sponsors pulled their contracts. He slid a document across the table. This is your resignation letter. Sign it. I built this foundation. You looted this foundation. Richard's voice was flat. We have the receipts, Victoria. Literally. The Hamptons house, charity funds. Your daughter's Dalton tuition? Charity funds. That trip to St. Bart's you called a strategic planning retreat? Charity funds. Victoria's lawyer leaned in. My client maintains your client is going to federal prison. This from Sarah Kim, the board's legal counsel. The U.S. Attorney's Office filed charges an hour ago. Wire fraud, tax evasion, embezzlement, that's 20 years minimum. The room went silent. Victoria's hands shook. She clasped them in her lap, trying to maintain control. This is about that waitress. This is retaliation. This is about you stealing from families with special needs kids. Richard stood. Sign the resignation or we move to terminate with cause and you lose your severance package. How much severance? Nothing. You stole $2.1 million. We're suing you for full restitution. Victoria's face went pale. That's everything. The house, the accounts. Should have thought about that before you used autism awareness as your personal ATM. Richard walked to the door. You have 5 minutes. Sign or don't. Either way, you're done. Victoria's apartment, Upper East Side. That night, Victoria's daughter Charlotte stood in the foyer with 2 suitcases, 23 years old, and finally seeing clearly. I'm going to Dad's in Connecticut. Charlotte, please. I volunteered at your galas, Mom. I helped you raise that money. I believed in the mission. Charlotte's voice shook. You made me complicit in fraud.
I gave you everything. You gave me shame.
Charlotte's eyes were wet, but her voice stayed steady. Columbia's revoking my scholarship recommendation. Your letter. They said accepting it would be ethically problematic given your indictment. Victoria reached for her daughter's arm. Charlotte stepped back. Don't. You use sick kids to buy handbags and summer houses. You destroyed a woman for showing basic human decency. She picked up her suitcases. I'm changing my last name. Back to Dad's. I don't want to be a Kent anymore. Charlotte? Goodbye, Mom. The door closed. Victoria stood alone in her $4 million apartment that the IRS would seize in 72 hours and understood exactly what Elena had felt on the sidewalk outside ACS. Complete. Total. Loss. Her phone buzzed. TMZ notification. Victoria Ashford Kent Perp Walk exclusive video. She opened it. Footage of her leaving FBI headquarters in handcuffs. Hair perfect. Chanel suit immaculate, but wrists bound in federal steel. Cameras everywhere. Reporters shouting, how does it feel to steal from disabled children? Do you have any remorse? What would you say to Elena Brooks? The video had 800,000 views in 20 minutes. The comments were brutal. Hope Prison has good skincare because she's gonna be there a while. From the Met Gala to the Perp Walk. That's karma. Elena Brooks should send her a postcard from freedom. Victoria threw her phone across the room. It shattered against her fireplace, the screen splintering like her entire carefully constructed life. Outside her window, New York City kept moving. Nobody noticed when the lights went out in Victoria Ashford Kent's apartment. Nobody cared. Adrian's 9th birthday, 6 months later. The DeLuca estate looked different. No armed guards at the gates. No security cameras hidden in rose bushes. Just balloons. Blue ones, because Adrian finally admitted blue was his favorite color, and 15 kids from his new school running across the lawn. Elena stood on the terrace watching Lucy teach Adrian's classmates how to play her chaotic version of tag. No rules, pure joy. Adrian stood in the middle of it, not covering his ears, not counting exits, just playing. Marcus appeared at Elena's elbow. The cake's ready. You want me to bring it out? Yeah. Give me 5 minutes. She checked her phone. No new messages from the federal facility in Otisville, where Mateo was serving his sentence. He'd sent a card for Adrian's birthday, hand-drawn, a father's attempt at art. It showed 2 stick figures building a Lego bridge. The caption, Keep building. Love, Papa. Adrian kept it on his nightstand next to the music box. The music box he only wound when he wanted to remember good things now. Not to count chaos, just to remember. Elena walked down to the lawn where the kids were gathering. Adrian saw her and smiled. Easy, natural, the kind of smile that didn't cost him anything anymore. Miss Elena, Lucy says I have to make a wish, but she won't tell me what to wish for. That's because it's your wish, mijo. Elena knelt beside him. What do you want? Adrian thought about it with his usual precision. Then, I want Papa to come home, but I know that takes 1,217 more days. So for today, I wish Lucy stops changing the tag rules. The kids laughed. Lucy tackled him in a hug. Adrian didn't flinch. He hugged her back. After the kids left and the caterers cleaned up, Elena found Adrian in his room. He was holding the music box but not winding it, just holding it. You okay, buddy? I don't miss Mama less, he said quietly, but it doesn't hurt the same way anymore. Is that okay? Elena sat beside him on the bed. Yeah, that's exactly how it's supposed to work.
Miss Elena?
He finally looked at her. Thank you for staying, even when it was hard.
You're worth staying for.
Adrian wound the music box, not 7 times, not 6, just until the melody started. They sat together listening to Strauss, while the sun set over New Jersey and New York City glittered in the distance. In this world where second chances are earned through courage, where these events echo the truth of what happens when someone chooses to see rather than look away, every name and face here lives in imagination. But the lesson? That's real. Elena's voice, soft and certain. People ask if I was scared. Working for a man like Matteo De Luca, taking in his son while he served federal time. And yeah, I was. But you know what scared me more? The idea that Adrian would grow up thinking he was the problem, that all those people at that gala were right to ignore him. My brother Daniel died thinking he was too broken to matter, that the world didn't have space for kids like him. I couldn't save Daniel, but I could ask one little boy to dance. I could kneel down when everyone else walked past. I could stay when it would have been easier to leave. Turns out, that's how you break a cycle. Not with money, not with power. With one moment of seeing someone when the whole damn room is looking away. Matteo lost everything. His empire, his freedom, 5 years of his son's life. But he gained the only thing that actually mattered. He chose Adrian over everything else. That's not redemption. That's just being a father. Victoria lost everything too. Her foundation, her reputation, her daughter, her freedom. 22 years in federal prison. But here's the thing. She didn't lose because I beat her. She lost because she forgot that people are watching. Always. And when you use vulnerable kids as props for your own glory, eventually someone's gonna have a camera rolling. As for me, I got a family. Not the one I planned. Not the one society says counts. But Adrian calls me every night before bed. Lucy teaches him new ways to break rules. And sometimes, late at night, I hear him wind that music box. Not 7 times, not to count trauma, but just once or twice, just to remember his mama loved him.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
That's all it took to change everything. So here's my question for you. Who are you walking past? Who's lining up silverware at the table everyone avoids? Because I promise you, the most dangerous thing you can do isn't standing up to power. It's kneeling down to someone powerless and treating them like they matter. That's when the whole world shifts. If you've ever been the one everyone ignored until someone finally saw you. Drop a heart below. You're not invisible, not here. And if you think karma is real, that people like Victoria get what they deserve and people like Elena eventually win, smash that like button. Justice takes time, but it comes. People ask if I was scared, working for a man like Matteo De Luca, taking in his son while he served federal time. And yeah, I was. But you know what scared me more? The idea that Adrian would grow up thinking he was the problem, that all those people at that gala were right to ignore him. My brother Daniel died thinking he was too broken to matter, that the world didn't have space for kids like him. I couldn't save Daniel, but I could ask one little boy to dance. I could kneel down when everyone else walked past. I could stay when it would have been easier to leave. Turns out, that's how you break a cycle. Not with money, not with power, with one moment of seeing someone when the whole damn room is looking away. Matteo lost everything. His empire, his freedom, 5 years of his son's life, but he gained the only thing that actually mattered. He chose Adrian over everything else. That's not redemption, that's just being a father. Victoria lost everything too. Her foundation, her reputation, her daughter, her freedom. 22 years in federal prison. But here's the thing. She didn't lose because I beat her. She lost because she forgot that people are watching. Always. And when you use vulnerable kids as props for your own glory, eventually someone's gonna have a camera rolling. As for me, I got a family. Not the one I planned. Not the one society says counts. But Adrian calls me every night before bed. Lucy teaches him new ways to break rules. And sometimes, late at night, I hear him wind that music box, not 7 times, not to count trauma, but just once or twice, just to remember his mama loved him. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's all it took to change everything. So here's my question for you. Who are you walking past? Who's lining up silverware at the table everyone avoids? Because I promise you, the most dangerous thing you can do isn't standing up to power. It's kneeling down to someone powerless and treating them like they matter. That's when the whole world shifts.